Hey, podcast friends, if you've been enjoying the College Admissions Process podcast, I'm excited to share my new book, Straight from the Admissions Office Insider Strategies for College Applications. It's packed with insights and tips from over 250 podcast episodes with admissions professionals designed to make the college process less overwhelming. Whether you're a student, parent, or college counselor, it's a valuable resource for navigating the admissions process. By grabbing a copy, you're also helping to support the podcast. The links are in the show notes. Thank you, and best wishes to all with the college admissions process. Welcome to the CAP, the College Admissions Process Podcast. I am your host, John Durante, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you today Lauren Sangimino, who's the Assistant Director of Admissions at Stony Brook University. Lauren, welcome. And by the way, I want you to know this is a special episode for me because I myself got my bachelor's at Stony Brook. So how are you, Lauren?
Hi, great. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here today.
We're excited to have you. And Lauren, as you know, episode 34, which was released back on May 11th of 2022, was the last interview I did with Stony Brook University. So since then, have there been any new academic programs, initiatives, or partnerships at Stony Brook that prospective students and their parents should know about?
Yes, there definitely has been a lot of changes only within the last couple of years. So, right around then, I don't think that it has been established, but since then, we've had the new Simon STEM Scholars Program. This is a completely funded program, tuition, housing, attending conferences, research. So, this is for students in the STEM areas looking to go into the research fields. So, basically, it helps cultivate them to go on to the next steps, graduate school, and really be leaders in their field. So the Simon STEM Scholars Program is fairly new for us. We've only had a couple classes so far for it, and it's going to continue to go from here. We've also been chosen as an anchor institute at Governor's Island for the Center for Climate Solutions. So universities from all over the world put in for this, and Stony Brook was chosen. So we're going to be leading the research happening for climate solutions on Governor's Island. So we're really excited about that. Yeah, and then we've also
That's awesome.
it is. We've also had a huge increase in applications. We're at 60,000 applications now. So we've continuing to grow each year and increase our enrollment. And in terms of new programs, we have a new data science program, as well as a mass communications major and a climate science major as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. The Simon STEM Scholarship Program is something that we didn't discuss the last time, which you said is fully funded for students looking to go into the research field. Stony Brook is obviously known so well for its research initiatives and programs, and it has been chosen as an anchor institute, which you're going to be leading the research at Governor's Island, which is incredible. You mentioned that you had 60,000 applications. I was just curious, what's the institutional priority in terms of the number of freshmen that you want to admit?
So we just recently increased it this last year, given the amount of applications we've received. So this year we're looking at a little over 4,000 freshmen coming in.
Fantastic. And I always mention that because 60,000 applications for a freshman class of 4,000. So I just want to put that into context for students and their families because a lot of times students are rejected, they're deferred, or what have you. And they say, oh, maybe it was me, maybe it's something that I did. But a lot of times it's just sheer numbers, right? 60,000 applications. The goal is 4,000 for that incoming freshman class. So we appreciate that insight, Lauren. And what are some unique aspects of campus life at Stony Brook and some of your more popular extracurricular opportunities available to your students?
Absolutely. We have over 10,000 students living on campus here at
Wow.
Stony Brook, and it continues to grow. They've even been talking about building more residential halls at Stony Brook to keep up with the demand, which is great because we want there to be a community of students here at Stony Brook and continue to grow that as well. We've had more returning students looking to live on campus than before. So again, continuing to make more room for our students and building new buildings. They're involved in so many different things and multiple activities, which is great because that helps contribute to the community at Stony Brook. I'd say a lot of our students are involved in academic-based programs, volunteer opportunities at the hospital, research, internships. We have over 350 clubs and organizations at Stony Brook. from a crocheting club
Hmm.
to intramural sports. We have an esports team also, that's gotten huge. A lot of
Sure,
students are
sure.
interested in that as well.
Fantastic. Over 10,000 students living on that awesome campus that I remember very well, with more returning students wanting to, again, continue to live on your campus. So obviously, you're looking to construct more and to make room for all of these students. And of course, you talked about your over 350 activities. So certainly, there seems to be something for everyone, not to mention the hospital, which is right across the street, allowing for many internship opportunities and I'm sure other connections to your programs. So, Lauren, can you walk us through the holistic review process at Stony Brook and what specific factors do admissions officers prioritize when evaluating those applications?
Absolutely. So we look at the whole application. So we look at the information on the application. We look at all of the supplemental information that the students submit to us, the letters of recommendation as well. I personally really enjoy the essay because this is how I get to know the student a little more personally and hear their voice within the application. You can also kind of see a little bit of their thought process in there and their maturity level as well within their writing. So that's important. We look at what they're involved in. We want to see that students have an interest and that they're exploring those interests and that they are able to manage their time in addition to their academics. But the big part of the application has always been the transcript.
Hmm.
So we are definitely looking at the academics, the types of courses they're taking, the level they're taking them at, the trend throughout high school, their core subject areas, and we're heavily looking for consistency within that transcript.
Well, I appreciate that. You mentioned a lot of pieces, so we're going to unpackage it just a little bit more, the transcript, the essay, and of course, overall interest that students put on their application through that activity sheet. So let me ask you about the essay, which you mentioned is one of your favorite parts. Can you share an essay that really stuck with you? In other words, helping to give students advice in terms of what to think about when sitting down, getting ready to write that essay?
Yeah, there's been a few that have popped into
Hmm.
mind. I think ultimately I say choose whatever you're interested in because then it will be interesting to us. I remember oftentimes we get students writing about scoring the winning goal, and
Hmm.
that's a very popular one, and that's great. But one time I had a student write his essay about how it was a senior year, last game he was going to be playing, and he didn't score the winning goal and how he recovered from that. So that one definitely stood out to me.
Well, that's awesome. And it just goes to show it's not so much the topic that you're choosing, but basically how you choose to write about that topic and what it meant to you. And of course, always being mindful of making sure that the essay adds to your overall application. We always say that if an admissions representative reads your essay and they don't learn anything new, it's really a missed opportunity, right? Because you want every part of the overall application to build on the next. Now, I know you mentioned the transcript, which of course is extremely important to make sure that the students can handle the academic rigors once they're on your campus. So, with 60,000 applications, I would imagine that you're getting schools from thousands of different high schools from
Mhm.
New York State and beyond, and frankly, even outside of our country. So, in terms of the GPA, do you use the GPA as indicated on the transcript, or do you recalculate using your own metrics? And if so, whatever insights that you could share with us would be greatly appreciated.
Absolutely. Yeah, with 60,000 applications and a lot of high achieving students, it has gotten harder. Definitely. But I can tell you that we actually do a combination of things. So we definitely look at the overall GPA, but we look at it in the context of the transcript. So if a student has some B's in their core classes, but they have a lot of A's in their elective classes, which kind of bumps up the GPA, or if a school tends to have an over inflation of weighting in a GPA,
Mhm.
we will go back in and we will recalculate. So
Understood.
ultimately, when we're looking at the courses, we're again, that's kind of where the consistency falls in. If it's consistent with the overall GPA, we will use that. If it looks like it's off, then we will go back in and we will recalculate using those core subject areas.
And again, you're gonna be looking at the core subject areas as part of that recalculation, correct?
Right.
Fantastic. Just want to emphasize that because students always ask that question, are they looking at everything, the electives, or just the core, or is it a combination? So I appreciate that insight. And I know that Stony Brook, like many other schools, is in fact test optional. So, Lauren, can you share the percentage of students that were admitted who did not submit those test scores?
So we've been seeing since we've gone test optional, we've been looking at a lot of the data and we've been seeing from year to year changing a little bit. So overall, we had about 65% submit as test optional and 35% submitted test scores. So in terms of our admits, out of those who went test optional, about 54% were admitted, and those who submitted test scores, 46% were admitted. So I know people like to draw correlations between, oh, if I submit test scores, do I have a higher chance of getting in? Or if I don't
Hmm.
submit them, do I have a higher chance? It's not necessarily, we don't look at it that way. We are just looking at the actual applicant within the context of what they submit to us. So ultimately, a test score is never going to supersede the transcript. We've always looked very heavily at the transcript and the courses and the level and the GPA and all of that. So ultimately, I like to say that the test scores are really just an additional piece to the puzzle.
Well, I appreciate you mentioning the transcript in that light. And it's almost like you're looking at the transcript holistically, if you will, right?
Right.
First of all, what is available to you as a student based on the high school you attended?
Mhm.
What did you choose to take over your 4 years of high school? What are the ramps that you built? And also, how did you perform? And I think you're absolutely right. The best indicator in terms of how you're going to perform in college is by evaluating that transcript, which is why so many schools remain test optional. And whether or not you submit a test score, it's just another piece. If it's there, great. It adds value, to the overall application, but it's not necessary because, again, academically speaking, the number one factor really is that transcript. Anything else you wanted to add in terms of that?
No, I think that's all of it.
Okay, fantastic. So, can you elaborate on the support services available at Stony Brook, such as academic advising, mental health resources, career counseling, and anything else, again, to continue to be successful once they're on your campus?
Absolutely. We have a three-tiered system of advising at Stony Brook. So we have advisors who will advise our freshman students, making sure that they are getting assimilated to the university, getting their courses they need, just helping them be successful for all 4 years. Then we have academic advisors as well to make sure that they are meeting their core graduation requirements. And then we also have advisors within the various departments and majors to make sure that they're getting the courses they need to be on track for graduation for their major as well. We have an excellent career center on campus who students can start doing internships as early as second semester freshman year. So the Career Center helps them with internships. They host job fairs where all different companies come to campus just to recruit our students. So students can make connections there as well. And then in terms of mental health resources, we have a wide variety of options on campus. We do have student health services on campus, but we've completely expanded. We have the Center for Prevention and Outreach, who can provide counseling services to students and resources to students. And then we also have something called CAPS, which is 24-hour care. So students won't have to wait until the next day to get care. It's a 24-hour hotline that they can call to get access to services. So this is something that's very specific to Stony Brook. What's great is we do have a social welfare program at Stony Brook, but a lot of our campus leaders have a social welfare background and a counseling background, and I think that is a huge attribute as to how we are able to have a lot of these programs for our students.
Well, that's terrific. And I think it's a very important question for students and their parents to ask in terms of what are the resources available? Sometimes we focus so much on getting accepted to a school, which of course is very important. But also, you have to remember that you're likely going to be there for at least 4 years. So you want to know going in what is it that you offer that's going to help a student continue to be successful and support them, whether it's academically, socially, or even, with their future careers. So that's terrific. And speaking of resources, I know we touched a little bit upon some research opportunities. So what other opportunities are available to undergraduate students at Stony Brook in terms of research? And how can students get involved in these research opportunities early in their academic careers?
That's a great question. There's a wide variety of opportunities for students to get involved in research. So we have a program called Eureka, which
Mm,
helps students get involved in research, whether they want to do it on their own or with faculty members. They can help students find those opportunities and really help them through the process of doing research. Our faculty members are involved in research and they highly recommend students doing it early on because this way they'd rather have students trained early and spend more time researching with them and building on their research. We also co manage the Brookhaven National Laboratory. So,
wow.
our students and faculty are doing research there, amongst other people who come from all over the world to do research there. We do have the WISE program, which is specifically an honors program for females in the STEM areas looking to do research. So that's another opportunity for those students. The Simon STEM program also focuses on research. And we are in AAU, which is American Association of Universities. So that's the top 62 research universities in the country. So we're happy to have been invited into that association as well. It is nice that you can be in any major and do research. You don't have to be a science major in order to do research. So
Hmm.
there are opportunities there. And again, we like when they can start early and really build on that research.
Well, I definitely know of a lot of students that are there specifically for your STEM programs, but so much more. I mean, I was an education major when I was there. So,
Mhm.
it's a lot of STEM, but also a lot more at Stony Brook for sure. And speaking of which, there's a lot of students that want to transfer into Stony Brook. So, what advice do you have for transfer students applying to Stony Brook University? And what resources are available to help them with the transition?
Sure. We've always seen transfer students and we've seen them for a variety of different reasons, whether they want to build their GPA up because maybe their high school GPA was not as high as it needed to be, or it can be more cost effective to be a transfer student as well. So, in terms of resources for transfer students, we do have a Stony Brook University 101 class that they can take
Hmm.
specifically as a transfer student. So we do this for our freshmen, but we also offer it to our transfers so that they can get to the university, help get assimilated, understand what the resources are there, how to access those resources, and just familiarize themselves with Stony Brook.
Well, I appreciate that. I love the Stony Brook 101 class. And that's another great question that students could ask, whether they're coming in as a freshman or as a transfer. Question being, what is it that you do to help a student transition from high school or wherever it is that they're coming from into that awesome thing that we call Stony Brook University? So, in this case, Stony Brook 101, I would imagine, is it a one credit course to help students acclimate, right?
Yes, it is. It
Right, so
is.
that's what I figured, and a lot of schools have it, again, to help students transition. So, another great question to ask when you're on campus or visiting with a rep at a college fair. So, what are some of the future plans and long-term visions for Stony Brook University in terms of growth, development, and any new initiatives?
Well, our president just recently left and went to Yale. So we
Oh,
will be
wow.
hiring a new president who I'm sure will have long term goals for the university. However, in the interim, we will continue to be a driving force for social mobility. We are a global institution. So we have research all over the world happening as a Stony Brook campus. We are leaders in healthcare and we continue to strive to be. I know our computer science program has mentioned AI. That's a big thing now, and they're looking to implement that into their curriculum as well. But ultimately, overall, as a university, we're looking to transform learning and teaching by expanding student access, and especially across the different counties within New York State. As a flagship, we want to make sure that we are servicing all of our students from across the state. We're looking to continue to grow our research and Enterprise for Impact as a global research institution with Governor's Island as well. We're looking to serve communities as a flagship, especially strengthening pipelines for students from K through 12, attaining their educational goals. And then reimagining the way that we work. So we have put a lot into our infrastructure and our facilities at Stony Brook. We've been constantly making updates to buildings. We will be remodeling our admission center. So in a couple years, once that's complete, it'll be more interactive and help us in terms of how we service students and families.
Well, you definitely continue to grow because the popularity of Stony Brook continues to also increase, which is awesome. And certainly, if visiting campus is an option, it really is an important piece to help students determine whether or not it's the right fit. So, if a student is fortunate enough to visit, what are some must see areas on campus? And what are some examples of really good questions that they can ask when visiting admissions to help them determine whether or not it's the right fit?
We often have students visit and, they want to see a classroom, they want to see the library, they want to see a residential hall, dining facility. Those are all great places to see because you kind of get to see students in action. I would say specifically to Stony Brook, our Stony Brook Union is a great place. This has been remodeled recently, so it's
Hmm.
probably different than what you remember. But even on the weekend, there's students there studying, hanging out. Um, so it really, we have a lot of our clubs have offices there. So
Oh, cool.
our marching band and club sports and things like that. So we have a lot of student offices there. There's student services there. So that's really, I'd say, kind of the heart of the university. I would definitely check out Roth Pond. This is a duck pond that we have on
Hmm.
campus. It's where we host our Roth Pond Regatta, where students build boats out of cardboard, duct tape, and paint, and they race them across the pond. So it's a big tradition of ours. But the university has been really great at establishing spaces on campus for smaller group gatherings so that students can hang out with their friends and kind of more of like a coffee shop kind of a feel. So
Hmm.
taking that large university and shrinking it down for our students so that they have more spaces like that they can access. There's a lot of intricate little pieces to campus, and if you ever come, I would say definitely walk around, take your time, explore, because there's even I've been here 16 years and there's places that I found that I didn't even know existed. But I would say it's also very important for students to really ask themselves if they can picture themselves there, if they can really see themselves going to class there, living there, studying in the library, and doing all those things.
Well, those are definitely great points. And there's been so much innovation and new buildings since I've been there, which was a very long time ago. What could you tell us about the athletic facilities? Because I know it's, state of the art, top notch, and it was good when I was there, but so much better now. So, what could you tell us about it?
Sure. So we're Division One. We did build a recreation center a little while back for our students, but that has become such a great aspect to campus for our students. They have like pop-up challenges, they have like nutritional classes there. You could do your yoga and your Zumba and all of
Hmm.
those things. But that's a really great part to campus as well. They've constantly been expanding. They had redone the arena. We have built a field house
Hmm.
for our athletes also. That's on campus now. I heard also that they're going to be expanding the stadium
Yep.
as well. They've put a lot of great resources in there, redoing the board and the screen and um, food services and bathrooms and all of those things. So they've done a really great job over the years to make those things better.
Absolutely, they sure did. And Lauren, this has been a phenomenal conversation. The last question, as always, is what are your top three pieces of advice that you would provide students and their parents getting ready for the college admissions process?
This is my favorite question right here. So the first and most important thing to understand is that a lot of things are completely out of your control. So, like this last year, we had a FAFSA and a totally
Hmm.
redo of the FAFSA. There was COVID, and test optional came from that. There's constantly things that are rapidly changing each year. So it's important for you to focus on what you can control and leave the rest to us. Some of the things you can control are applying by the deadline, making sure your application is complete before the deadline. So definitely checking your portal, your application portal, and make sure everything is complete. You also want to write down your logins and passwords. So you're going to get, for all of the schools you apply to, you're going to get an application portal to log into. So make sure to write down all of those logins and passwords and keep them all in one spot. Create a spreadsheet for yourself. You can even put in there the cost for the different schools, what the deadlines are, any pros and cons of each school. So it sometimes helps to see the big picture of things. And then the third thing, this is for the parents. So this is a really good time to help empower your students and teach them self-advocacy. So help them take control of their education and their lives. This is a very important time in their life. This is a very pivotal moment for them in terms of becoming adults. So by doing this, this will help make the transition much smoother for when they get into college. And they can take ownership of this experience now.
Well, those are tremendous pieces of advice. Lauren, this has been an awesome conversation. I'm so grateful for your time, insights, and tips today. Thank you so much, and I do hope to have you again.
Thank you.
My pleasure. And to everyone out there, good luck with the college search. Take care all, and best wishes. Thank you for joining us on this episode of The CAP, the College Admissions Process Podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please don't forget to tell a friend. And follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. I am your host, John Durante, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode of The CAP.